Scarlett. Apple's new watch stole the show at last week's debut. Well, at least CEO Tim Cook thought so. It is the first new device developed totally under his watch. Here's why he thinks you too should be excited.
The Apple Watch is the most personal device we've ever created. I think it takes us into a whole different area. We had an intense team working on this for 3 years.
So it's accurate, it is sleek, and it can even count calories. So is this the end of Patek Philippe? Our guest host for the hour, Morty Singer, has some thoughts. All right, Morty, is this the death knell for the wind-up watch?
I think absolutely not, because...
Thank you.
I think that, everyone's saying that Switzerland is quaking in their boots, and I think the opposite is true. The last time they had a big issue was the so-called quartz crisis in the 1980s, when effectively they thought that the Japanese were going to steal their whole business, and that didn't happen. I think in this case, while the Apple Watch is fantastic, it really hits right up against the fashion watch industry, which includes the Michael Korses and all those brands that create fashion watches at a $350 price point. And I think that by the nature of that, it's about fashion. It's about turning that inventory, turning into new products season to season, year to year. And in this case, if you look in your drawer and take out an old iPod, you might see that that thing now feels dated. And you may wear a 10-year-old watch, but you might not wear a 10-year-old iWatch. So it's interesting to see how that might play out.
So it's a fad, is what you're saying?
It's not necessarily a fad. It's just how does that piece of technology play into fashion?
Yes.
And the use of it as fashion. And I think that's something that they have to take a hard look at, which is why they invited all the fashion editors for the first time to the launch.
And specifically, if you do actually think about the campaign of Patek Philippe, they always make the point this is something you would pass on to the next generation. You're obviously not going to pass on. Yeah, you're a caretaker. You're not the owner. You're not going to pass on an old iPod. But maybe there is, to some extent, the luxury watchmaker should be threatened, because Apple did come out with 18-karat gold rose watches, 18-karat gold yellow watches, so they are trying to push into the higher end.
They are absolutely trying to do that, and there will be a customer for that. And Ver 2, for example, is a phone that's made of gold, and that has its place, but it's very, very niche. And I think that ultimately people want something that's an heirloom, and I think that's hard to maybe transition a piece of technology as an heirloom.
Well, 4 out of 5 of us here at this table are wearing a wristwatch, Olivia being the exception. But we talk about the next generation passing on at Patek Philippe. A lot of people in the younger generation don't wear a watch at all. They just use their smartphone. So they don't have that habit, that tie.
Oh, you're so kind to put me in the younger generation.
I am, right?
No, I just recently lost my watch. But
okay, so it should be 5 out of 5. Either way, though.
But like many things in life, some things are an acquired taste. And I think over time, people appreciate, as they mature, things that are of great beauty.
The hipster in Brooklyn's going to get a watch when they grow up?
The hipster in Brooklyn's into beautiful things, but in their own way. So I think they absolutely will.
But what about the mid-market? You definitely, on the day that they came out with the Apple Watch, you saw the stock in Fossil drop, Swatch fell. Isn't this a threat to the mid-market players?
It is a threat to the mid-market players in the short term. I think over time, the fact that the fashion watch, as it's so-called in the industry, will actually be able to thrive. And in fact, they will also adapt and create their own versions of this.
Do you think we're going to get a Rolex that counts calories?
Possibly, yes. You've also seen WeThings, for example, come out with something which counts calories but has created a beautiful watch from the other side. So I think that there are lots of things to look out for, but I don't think this Apple Watch is going to be the one that really steals the show.
Yeah. If I could get a Cartier that could text message.